in the green right now. But let's kickstart the show by bringing you a very interesting conversation. Kamath, the chairman of the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Redevelopment, says that India's growth momentum is good and GDP can double by 2031. Speaking to Ritu Singh, he also says that lending by banks today is much safer than it was a few years back. Listen into snippets of that very interesting chat.
Yeah, I think that's entirely feasible. The growth momentum is clearly good. And I would think that there are 2-3 things that one needs to look at whether growth will happen or not. I think A is there demand for things that you need to do to grow? India's answer is absolutely yes. Do you have an aspiration to grow? Aspiration clearly is there, very clearly laid out by the center and the states. The third is, do you have the funding ability to grow? Historically, we would say that ability is not there. But if you now look at it, the center runs a very tight budget. It is well balanced, despite the challenges of the last 4 years. The central bank's policies, that's the Reserve Bank's policies, are all conducive to growth. They have kept interest rates attractive. They have not hiked them up. At the same time, contained inflation. Banks have clean balance sheets and are liquid. And the borrower also has got balance sheets which are clean. And most importantly, where, for example, in the infrastructure area, the government finds that the private sector may not be doing enough. The government is doing its investment. The last point there is, okay, you can then say that the government keeps doing investments, it gets stuck, it doesn't have any more funding. But the InvITs coming to fore, say an agency like NHAI, is then able to offload its assets through an InvIT structure and raise money for fresh investment. So there's a virtuous cycle being that has been built, and I would think for that reason growth is definitely on the cards. And of course the private sector in manufacturing and other areas is driving growth with the help of the government.
You know, you earlier spoke about how bank balance sheets are now clean to support the aspirations of the country. But we also heard the RBI governor a couple of months back mention how it is in times of exuberance, when there is confidence, bank balance sheets are clean, the economy is on a growth trajectory, that you often make the worst decisions, bad calls as well, and to be wary at this point of time. What do you think are some of the things that, lenders should watch out for as the economy is picking up steam?
I think, he is absolutely right. And that was happening in the past. But very interestingly, that was happening in the past when corporate India did not have its own cash flow of a size which was needed to grow. So they leveraged themselves. So say a typical project would be financed going back 30-40 years, at least 2:1, if not 3:1. 1 equity, 3 pieces of debt. Today, no entrepreneur will want to do that. At best it is 1-to-1. And as I said, the top 500 corporates have hardly any debt on their books. So they're all funding most of their projects through their own, and using bank debt for the margin, I would say, just to meet certain needs. So today's